back to Fort Bragg News. In today's stories, Cody removing 3 air reactions. In other words, he's a fascist. Jae-hun being forced to resign, and Mario and Luigi taking over the group. Liodite finally getting the views she asked for after plugging his YouTube in his resignment message.
I did not want to wake up today and debunk yet another document. It is no longer 2020. That part of me is dead. Or at least it should be. But I woke up today to what I almost entirely think is the Mein Kampf of the United States military. It lays out goals by RB5302 and Blocks 99 for the perfect vision of the Vaterland. Welcome boys to the United States military vision. This is complete and utter garbage. Now before we get started, I would like to welcome anyone new to my channel. We make Roblox content or something. If you do like the videos, consider subscribing. It helps out a lot. Now with that in mind, thank you and enjoy the video. Oh, and one more thing that I have to ask you, the viewer, is this. Every single attempt that I have made to even slightly hint that I want to criticize this document has ended up getting it banned, kicked, or silenced. The point is, they don't want me talking about this because they know it'll turn people against it. They're trying to silence me, and that's the idea. What I need you, the viewer, to do is to share this video in every single place you know. Tell everyone you know in the group because this won't work without all of you. I'm putting my faith in every single one of you. I know you can do it because this is war. Imagine you step onto a USM base. It's not Fort Bragg, it's not Camp Toccoa, it's not Fort Carson. You watch the 1st Marine Division run to the gate, split into companies led by their commanders. The 2nd Armored Division and 6th Tank Regiment follow behind with armored tanks. The 10th Alpine Division and 3rd Marine Division are stationed in the hills outside the operating base, raining down artillery and mortar fire on raiders. You look to the skies and watch the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing fly over the battlefield. The 101st Airborne Division falls to the ground to support the 1st Cavalry soldiers in the trenches. So he starts off by saying that it's not Camp Toccoa, Fort Carson, or Fort Bragg, even though he literally just described what Bragg is. He also mentioned mortar fire and artillery, which is great. Personally, I love dropping bombs on the enemy, but it's a keep on paper kind of idea. It sounds great until you realize the absolute atrocity of lag that this kind of thing will bring. Are you trying to make my computer off itself? Literally. And again, these are things that happen already. There's already tank patrols, there's already Alpine divisions, there's already airborne, it's all done already. The problem is that it's not combined into a certain game because a lot of people can't run that kind of thing. We have already done this with the failed Fort Carson, and it was scrapped. It was scrapped because not a single person could run it. Moving on. You turn and walk deeper into the base. MCRC and ARC instructors are hosting a basic military training for 20 privates at a parade square. Dozens of recruits march in formation. The Honor Guard and Marine drill team are practicing a performance in front of headquarters. Supreme Command watches from the balcony while the Joint Chief of Staff and allied leaders from France and IRF plan an assault on Normandy in the room behind them. The group isn't a training simulator. It's not a rank grinder. Soldiers actively train for and participate in wars against Axis groups. They fight alongside their allies. USM is active, it's fun, and for the first time in 7 years, it has a purpose. As said before, this is a only on paper kind of idea. It sounds glorious, it sounds great until you actually try it. Then you try it and you realize that this only happens once in a million years. It's fantasy, it's fictitious, and it's fabricated. It is the people that would need to change, not the game. It just doesn't happen because it's unrealistic and the numbers never line up like that. Like imagine you join the game, you see groups of people running around the base to fight, tanks rolling out into combat, people landing on mortars on a hill and firing down at enemies. Paramarines and airborne troopers are jumping out of a plane above and are landing to secure a position on the battlefield. You walk a little further into the base and see a large group of people clearing an obstacle course with drill instructors shouting orders at them. That's my vision for USM, man. A group where we actually do shit. Blocks 99. Do I even have to say anything besides the fact that he just quoted himself? It's like that joke that goes around that Socrates wasn't real. People say that he was only quoted because philosophers wanted to make something seem more realistic. It's like if George S. Patton quoted George S. Patton. You just don't do it. You can reference things, that's fine, but you don't directly quote yourself. It's arbitrary. Our next part of the document contains the brand new and totally never done before structure. Let's have a look. A new structure of USM would allow the group to be focused on wars and operations. Smaller echelons like companies would have a purpose. Company, battalion, and regiment commanders would have real authority over their personnel and would be able to lead their units in battle. The current structure of USM is already in the right direction. but there are still minor issues that need to be fixed. Again, I'm not against having units having a purpose, but it's a people problem, not a group problem. We have tried it time and time again, but no matter how much practice and time goes in, people just follow group orders on the battlefield. Hell, sometimes they don't even follow their own division. They simply just do what everybody else is doing. It sounds like it would be fun, but the subdividing of units is the problem in the first place. It shouldn't have happened because it doesn't have an actual effect. I would also like to show you a photo which shows the brand new and improved ranking structure in the group. Here it is. None of this is particularly important besides the bottom part. Do you notice how each field army now has 2 divisions? This is extremely annoying because I was in the 1st Infantry Division, a division of the 3rd Army, and they shut it down. The division was not corrupt, it was not inactive, but they shut it down for their new universal organization structure. Now, I'm not here to be an avid capitalist, but don't you understand exactly what you're doing? By forcing field armies to be limited to only 2 divisions, it eliminates competition. It stops divisions from having a reason to recruit. Before, if you had enough of a surplus of soldiers, you could open a new division. But this entirely kills that idea off. It makes it so there is absolutely no competition at all, and instead of enabling recruitment, will actually worsen it. Look up communism for a solid 5 minutes, and then you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It won't work here either. Field armies will be composed of divisions and regiments that can effectively fight in operations. We'll go into operations later. Each unit would have a specialization and an attached infantry unit that can work well with the division's specialization. The structure of certain subcommands will also change, most notably the Military Police, Marine Corps Recruiting Command, and Replacement and School Command. That would become the Army Recruiting Command. MP will be restructured to give it a new purpose. Instead of being a uniform police, MP will be tasked with maintaining general order and defending the border, which can actually be raided. There would be various MP outposts and stations that MP would cycle between. Some MPs will be tasked with patrolling the base. Detachment commanders would assign these posts to their subordinate personnel. Now, if you've been paying attention to Fort Bragg for at least 5 minutes, you'll notice that training commands are the problem. Training commands are the problem because training shouldn't ever be generalized. It seems great on paper, but it doesn't actually do anything. When you allow divisions and units to train soldiers, they then obtain expertise in the field right off the bat instead of a stupid basic military training. What needs to happen is that these training units need to be dissolved in entirety. Also, every sentence that I read, I slowly start to believe that no research went into this document. Take note of the fact that it said Replacement and School Command would become Army Recruiting Command. For what purpose? Even if I did agree with the training commands, they already have it correct. Take 5 seconds to read up from an article, you'll notice. In 1940, the War Department adopted a revolutionary plan. Permanent training organizations, known as replacement training centers, were to be established in March 1941 to conduct basic training. Of the anticipated large influx of citizen soldiers, mass production was to be obtained by rotating them in successive cycles through training units, which had no other purpose than to provide basic military training. That right there is your answer. Replacement training centers. On to the military police. They already do patrol Bragg. They already arrest people who are insubordinate. It's almost funny how Blocks and RB are entirely ignoring the fact that 95% of this USM Vision is already a thing that's happening. And if it's not, it's only because of a logical purpose, such as avoiding lag on servers. It's not that hard to comprehend. Recruiting commands will become true infantry training commands. Useless armored and airborne schools will be closed. Armored training will be left up to armored divisions. Airborne training will be left up to airborne divisions. These recruiting commands will host basic training events and physical training events on the new base. The only instructors in USM will be instructors and training commands, no divisional instructors. Again, repeating what I just said, we need to push away from recruiting commands and start pushing towards divisional trainings. Even from that same article as before, it had said, prior to 1940, the Army relied for its training of personnel for combat largely on its field units. We can do this too. If you want to teach a man to shoot a gun, you don't give him a knife. The logic is beyond me on why we'd also want to dissolve armored and airborne schools. They are there to train individuals more in depth about their units and what they do. By removing this, we're removing our knowledge of our own units. These schools also give licenses out to experienced drivers and pilots because, surprise, surprise, we can't have everyone driving a tank or flying a plane. That's just common sense and you are clearly void of it. Also, even reading back at this now, I didn't even have this in the script, but looking at this now, it says, armored training will be left up to armored divisions, airborne training will be left up to airborne divisions, but 2 sentences later it says the only instructors in USM will be instructors in training commands, no divisional instructors. Wait, it's contradicting itself. 2 sentences and it contradicted itself. The entire enlisted ranking structure changes in our vision. Currently in USM, the only way to earn promotions past sergeant in divisional positions is by becoming an instructor and being an RT bot. Quite frankly, it's boring and it allows some really dumb people to earn positions. We believe that positions should be given to competent leaders. Many of them are not interested in being RT bots. We also believe that promotion should be given to those who actively participate in our group's events. Some people don't want to be instructors, but still attend group raids, operations, patrols, CTs, and other events. Why should they be blocked from being promoted past corporal? Now, if you think that I'm just blatantly disagreeing with this because I can, think again. This entire paragraph I actually agree with. As someone who shows up to events but doesn't actually have time to host, this is perfect. This is the only thing I've seen that should actually get done. The first step towards changing the enlisted ranking structure is to change the way divisions recruit. Instead of having dozens of instructors in each division who fight with each other on fort rank to recruit one person, divisional staff will host tryouts for their divisions. Each division will be limited to how many tryouts they can host per day, maybe 2 per day. This will do 2 important things. It will give divisions exclusivity, not everyone will get in, and it will allow people to join a division they're truly interested in. They won't join the first RT they see. If this system is implemented correctly, divisional tryouts could have 10 to 20 more attendees each time. Back to what I said before, great on paper, awful in use. If we do this, we will ultimately be wasting a lot of time that can be used to train individuals. The only way to properly create those large trainings is by having only one training at a time. Have one parade square and keep it at that. By doing that, it almost forces people to join the division of choice because they don't have other options. Setting a schedule works too. From experience, having something at the top of the screen that reads X training now, Y training later, and Z training after that really works. By doing this, it allows people to roam about their business without being in constant fear of missing that training they want. This way people don't all gather at the podium if they at least have a general idea of what events are happening. With instructors gone, temporary mod is no longer needed on our base, and promotions past corporal can be given to anyone. This allows us to come up with some creative plans that will eliminate free ranking and give high enlisted ranks new meaning. There is a word for exactly what was just said. It is called talk. It's when you say a lot and come off as an intellectual but don't actually have a proper point. He goes, give high enlisted ranks new meaning. Like what? Honestly, like what? Say it right there. Stop avoiding the point. This document should be cut through and say exactly what's happening. But by allowing a cliffhanger like this, you open up an opportunity for whatever thing you want. That thing could be detrimental to this group and we don't even know what it is. Also, lower ranks should be instructing. That's literally what they're meant to do. Officers work on documents, planning things out, and running divisions. They are thinkers. Lower ranks actually do the running of the divisions. They are doers. This is just how it has to work because otherwise there'll be no training because officers have better things to do. Instead of using the USM ranking bot, we would use a new bot, most likely Clan Labs, to indirectly promote people. USM personnel would be given points, like experience points for attending events. Officers could even give extra points to someone who does well at a raid. These points will add up, and at a certain number, you would reach the next rank, like a level. You know, it sounded really great until you mentioned officers could give extra points to someone who does well at a raid. You just defeated the entire purpose of a bot like that. It is meant to stop free ranking, and you just allowed the port for it to happen. Also, what is the threshold for earning points? Is it going to be showing up, or is it going to be actually participating? You can't allow open interpretation like this. This vision needs to be clear, not blurry. When an instructor, MCRC or ARC, hosts a BMT on our new base, they'll be able to run an in-game command that will promote their attendee to private first class. Obvious limitations will be set on this. Only members of MCRC and ARC will be able to do this, and they'll only be able to promote up to PFC. The user in question would have to be in-game, and all promotions will be logged in a Discord channel. Further promotions will only be given to those who meet certain requirements by attending events. Oh yeah, that doesn't sound like a free ranking hell. One bad instructor and suddenly everyone is a private first class now. If this whole thing is to avoid free ranking, then what is the purpose of this open chance to free rank? I don't get it. The highest rank that can be achieved through this point system will be warrant officer. It would take a very long time to reach this rank. Once you're a warrant officer and earn a divisional position, you will be eligible to be placed into an officer position and go through the commissioning process. More details later on. See, I'm not really against this. Just be careful how it's done. If it's done wrong, then you're going to see possibly one of the worst free ranking disasters in recent history. Positions in divisions and ranks will be completely disconnected. However, you can only be placed into an enlisted position in a division if you are a staff sergeant or higher. These positions will be given to those who show leadership abilities at events, especially raids. During their time as enlisted advisors, they will learn how to manage logistics, how to host events, how to lead more effectively, etc. Why? Who thought this was a good idea? Who thinks it's okay to disconnect divisional and actual rank? They are meant to be aligned for a reason. I hate to say it, but no one is going to listen to someone if they hold the rank of private first class. I have been there, and I was saying stuff that was completely true, but no one listened because no one cares when you have no rank. This will cause a complete subversion of authority, and it's upsetting that no one can look ahead for 2 seconds and see how bad this is. In divisional matters, the person with the higher position will have more authority. However, once a matter is outside of their unit, the person with a higher rank has more authority, similar to how things work currently. This should work out really well. This definitely will stay consistent and have no problems whatsoever. These changes have many benefits, but 3 most people might not think about are: number 1, it becomes impossible to free rank people. Nobody has direct access to ranking people, only Brigadier General Plus for officer ranking. Ranks cannot be skipped, no private to master sergeant bullshit. Number 2, High-ranked enlisted personnel will have a lot of respect because their rank proves that they are seasoned veterans. In order to reach First Sergeant, Master Sergeant, etc., you are required to attend many raids and other events. These enlisted soldiers will have a ton of experience. New recruits will certainly look up to them for guidance. Number 3. Punishments. Rank logs are completely useless punishments. However, with our new system, points can be removed from people as punishment, which can translate to demotions where ranks have to truly be re-earned. Number 1. It's still not impossible to free rank people. If officers have that ability to grant experience, they can give ranks. The absolute ingenuity of people who wish to cause harm upon the group never fails to amaze me, and they will do it again. Number 2. High-ranked enlisted personnel will not have a lot of respect because we're talking about fundamental changes here. They take years to implement, and by then, this plan will probably be forgotten. Number 3. You are correct in saying that rank logs are useless. You also say that points can be removed, which translates to demotions. You just proved my exact point. I didn't even need to say anything, and you just proved how this system can be abused and manipulated to the favor of a malintentuous person. Bravo! The commissioning system and officer rank progression will be universal. Officer candidate school will essentially be removed. For its entire existence over the last several years, it has never been beneficial. Once someone becomes a warrant officer and has been in a enlisted position for more than 2 weeks, they will be eligible to be placed into an officer position and become commissioned. This checks off 2 important qualifications. Number 1. Warrant officer. They are active and have been in the group for a long time, and they understand how it works. Number 2. Enlisted position. They have experience leading, they know what an officer needs to do, they know what their duties and responsibilities are. Experience is gained through leading, not exams and essays. The problem is that this whole idea of not free ranking has just been debunked by the fact that you stated someone only needs to be an enlisted member for 2 weeks, but then you say, have been in the group for a long time. They don't go hand in hand. You pick one or the other. Also, completely dissolving officer candidate school is a very sucky idea. The problem lies not with specifically the school or the officers, it's more just a bad foundation for how the group has started to work. The whole concept of respect is gone within the group. No one cares anymore. The least officer candidate school did is allowed for the filtering of the nuts and the bolts, so not every single bad egg passes through. Also, it would test the ability of people to actually run and maintain a division, as they're meant to do. If you want to change officers, then change how the school runs. Don't get rid of it. Once someone is placed into an officer position, they will be immediately promoted to second lieutenant. A division's headquarters representative will be required to rank grade on all new officers before they're promoted. Each new officer will have a trial period. The superior officer should act as mentors to guide them through their new position. If someone proves to be an ineffective officer, they are decommissioned. General grade officers who repeatedly commissioned incompetent personnel will be striked. Well done. Incredible job. You have completely and entirely allowed the promotion of implicit bias. Oh, one officer doesn't like you, you'll never reach the officer position now. Good show, I say. Good show. Also, why should general grade officers be punished if they commission an incompetent officer multiple times? It wasn't their fault, it was the officer at hand. By doing this, you scare general grade officers from wanting to actually promote people into positions, and therefore you kill off the officer corps. This is a big thing with holding people accountable, specifically holding the people accountable who actually do wrong. The officer ranking system will be refined. Skipping ranks will not be allowed. You must go through all position and ranks in order to complete the time requirements. Joint Chief of Staffs have the ability to overrule this, and it should not be abused. Congratulations! We've now copied the United States military 1960s owned by JFK Park. They had this exact system. Do you want to know why it failed? It failed because people don't want to wait 15 weeks to obtain a general position. People come and go in these groups. That's what allows them to run so smoothly. Very few people genuinely stay in these groups for long stretches of time. Then you expect them to run a division after 15 weeks? It just won't happen. This will cause a lot of desertion and dead divisions. Well done. Also, your whole thing of not free ranking, but then you still allow Joint Chief of Staff to give promotions like that? You act like this has never been done before, but this has been, where specifically only Joint Chief of Staffs could approve free ranks, and yet you would still have the same exact problems we have today. It doesn't work. Development will be focused on the following maps, which will give our group's units a new purpose. Our group won't be limited to one training base. Operation maps. Each field army will have their own operation map based on their specialization in units. All operation maps will have AI enemies. Divisions will work together to fight these enemies to complete an objective. 3rd Army will have Operation Overlord, Normandy. 7th Army will have Operation Autumn Mist, Battle of the Bulge. 5th Marine Amphibious Corps, Operation Iceberg, or Okinawa. 1st Marine Amphibious Corps, Operation Watchtower, or Guadalcanal. Raid maps will be a mix of a smaller tech-based raid maps for divisions and field armies with larger infantry-based raid maps for branches or the entire group. Forward Operating Base. The main USM base would be a forward operating base in Italy. Personnel will be given preset combat uniforms based on their divisions, battalion, position, rank, etc. The base will be raidable. Personnel will be able to attend events, fight raiders, etc. There will be stuff to do, and it won't just be a standing simulator like Fort Bragg. So now I'm at a loss. At the start of this vision, you dream of a place where everyone works together in unison, and now we're separated? I don't get that. On top of that, you're assigning specific units to do the same exact thing at the same exact place over and over and over again. The whole purpose of having different maps is to allow for the moving around of units and ability to adapt rapidly to different situations. By doing this, you literally will kill off any critical thinking that's needed for leadership. Plus, it will become extremely repetitive and boring very quickly. Your logic is contradicting itself by the second. This document is crumbling. Events will be based on individual units as well as the echelon. These events will be mostly training and war focused. Boring events like inspections will be generally discontinued. USM-wide events. Wars against other groups, most notably the massive 7-group Allied vs. Axis war planned for this summer. Individual raids. Branch-wide events. Wars, campaigns, individual raids, operations. Field Army events. Operations, campaigns. Division events. Raids, practice operations, practice raids, combat trainings, patrols. Regiment events. Specialized trainings, combat trainings, small-scale practice raids on Mont Blanc and Innsbruck, patrols. Battalion events. Specialized trainings, patrols, small-scale practice on Mont Blanc and Innsbruck. Company events, patrols, small-scale practice on Mont Blanc and Innsbruck. See, I don't genuinely understand how anyone has read this and went, yeah, looks fine to me. You want to get rid of boring events like inspections? Sure. But then you literally have a patrol in 4 separate individual units. Patrols are not fun. They are generally boring. The only reason people show up to them is because they're so afraid of losing a rank for not attending. Patrols are not fun. Also, inspections weren't ever meant to be inspections in the first place. They were meant to be rallies. By having rallies, you pull numbers and then force place people to a different game. We have forgotten that concept as a whole. Whenever an inspection happens, there should be a raid immediately following it, and it's not that hard to set up. The United States military will participate in wars with other groups. These wars will follow a historical timeline of battles and will often include several groups in multiple theaters. One example of this is the Grand War coming this summer. This is how it'll work. The World War, Allied forces, the US military 1940s, and Mortal Robloxian Federation and the French Republic versus the Axis forces, at Imperium Germanica, the Greater Japanese Empire, Sovereignty of Bavaria, Austria-Hungary 1940s. Win conditions. Winner of European Theater gets 1 point, winner of Pacific Theater gets 1 point, winner of World Theater gets 1 point, most points wins. European Theater. Allies will be the US Army, Mortal Roblox Federation, and the French Republic. Axis will be at Imperium Germanica, Sovereignty of Bavaria, Austria-Hungary 1940s. Pacific Theater. Allies, the US Marines, Axis, the Greater Japanese Empire. World Theater. 3 raids on Battlefront, a world at war. Allies will be the US military 1940s, a Mortal Roblox Federation, the French Republic. Axis will be at Imperium Germanica, Sovereignty of Bavaria, Austria-Hungary 1940s, the Greater Japanese Empire. Branches and field armies will also have the opportunity to participate in campaigns, which are mini-wars. These campaigns will generally consist of branch/field army and an Axis group or single unit with an Axis group. I can't wait for this great war to come out this summer, just like how Fort Carson came out exactly on time. It'll be tons of fun while I'm enjoying this entirely real thing that isn't just another false hope. All medals will be based on the following regulations. These regulations give each medal a distinct criteria. Medals will be harder to obtain and more prestigious. One major change is that campaign medals and some combat medals will be exclusively awarded during wars and campaigns, not for singular raids. Listen, all the medals are completely legit and that's great, but they don't hold up to them. I have served in this community for 3 years. I have vehemently defended this group and its people multiple times. I have revolutionized the content that comes out of this group and inspired creators such as Polly or Pugmax, whether they want to admit it or not. I absolutely surplussed the members of the Navy back in 2020 and made it the most active branch at the time. And what have I gotten? Nothing. No medals. I have not been offered a single one. Yet my name is still passed around to this day because of how much of an impact that I'd caused. It doesn't matter how good your medal guidelines are when the people that award these medals are corrupt in the first place. Headquarters doesn't like me, Supreme Command especially doesn't like me, and I will never earn a medal because they don't care about me. That's the problem with your precious decals. Some people don't want to see change in USM. Change is hard, but sometimes it's necessary. This group has been functioning in the same manner since 2015. For people who have been here for a while, it might be difficult to see the group move past its original form. For people who are new, it might be scary to shift the group into uncharted territory. You might fear that you'll lose your rank or position. The division you've been in since you joined might be reformed, structures you're used to will no longer be there. When you're in this group and work hard to improve it every day for a year, the reality sets in on you. The group in its current form is in a bubble. It has no meaning, it doesn't matter how many stars you have on your shoulders, it's all the same. Dread it, run from it, destiny still arrives. That's really cute. They really think they did something there. Listen, they're not wrong in saying that the group is a bubble, but they're also trying to manipulate you. They're trying to manipulate you into believing that you are stuck and their goals are the only way out. They think they're promising a newfound land that has never been seen before, but it has. 95% of these things have already been done in the past, and they fail because the group has fundamental problems that take years to fix. And even if you do fix them, the next guy just comes along and ruins it. They ruin it because, as you said, some people don't want to see change in USM. I wish it were possible to do these things, but it's not. It's not because the people are screwed up, not the group. You see, that right there is why I'm quitting the group permanently. It is not a specific person, this document, or anything likewise. It's just that this group is just such a hopeless romantic. This group has failed and nothing will ever change because no matter how hard you work, the next guy just comes along and ruins it. It's like that phrase, you can take the dog out of the fight, but you can't take the fight out of the dog. People won't change. This group won't change. Nothing will ever change unless people like us do something about it. If you really want to see change, you can quit the group. All they care about is numbers, activity, and money. And when you stop lining their pockets, they will change undoubtedly. That is why I am calling for the mass quiddage of officers, enlisted, and everyone in between. If you are currently in the United States military and want to see real change, leave the group today. I'm leaving the group to refocus my energy. I'm leaving to better myself, and if you really want to make a difference, do it now while we're all united. I have spent years building up my name in this group, and what did I get out of it? Nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. No. Actually, I got some kind messages from Blox99. After I had told RB that I was going to be criticizing his document, he got Sedwin to ban me from the main Discord. I contacted Blox about this and asked why Sedwin banned me. He says, because you're a fucking idiot. He goes on to say, there's no reason for you to be in this group. You don't do anything, you never will, you're just an idiot. I don't know why anyone ever allowed you to move past private. I proceed to then tell him that his precious vision has a lot of flaws in it, and he says, yeah, to be quite frank, we've discussed all that stuff, and I don't care about the opinion of someone like you who has never contributed a single thing to the group. You just don't understand anything. After trying to ask for a proper reason again, he goes on to tell me, Sedwin's reasons don't matter. If you really want to be back in USM because you have nothing else to do with yourself, then go ahead and put your tail between your legs and beg moderation staff. The funny thing about all this is the whole reason I was banned in the first place was because I said to RB, I'm going to be making a video on the USM Vision, don't take it too personally. That's it. It wasn't rude, it was just straightforward. What do I get? Practically a message demeaning my entire existence within the group. See folks, these are the people that created that precious document. I can't honestly fucking see how any person has the mind to go and say that this is an actual good plan. Take 2 seconds to actually think of the reality of this and you'll back down. Take 2 seconds to realize who's pushing this and you won't be supporting them any longer. They want to claim that there needs to be more respect to the enlisted of the group, to people who've been in it for a while. But then they literally do this to someone who has made countless contributions to this group over 3 years, directly and indirectly. They are throwing stones at a very fragile glass house, and you should open your eyes to that. They don't give a shit about me, they don't give a shit about you, and if you can't see that, then you need to see an optometrist. Open your eyes and see the real truth. The real vision of USM is a condemned group and a long gone memory. Join the mass quidditch of the group, take off your caps and leave for the final time. Welcome to the revolution, my friends. And listen, if all that didn't do it for you, just remember one thing and one thing only. This entire group is run by a bunch of lowlives who either hit on children or bully children for their own pleasure. And you don't want to be around them because they'll influence your thoughts, and you do not want to become them. Save yourself. Godspeed. Now, I have considered that people will still want something to do, so I made a group personally for that. Over the next few months, I'll be working on a group that focuses on roleplay rather than rank, where real respect is earned through actual work. If you care to join, that's your business, but the link will be in the description below. Now, with all that said, that should be everything. Thank you for your time, and have a great day. This has been Garrett, and for the very last time with the United States military 1940s, goodbye.